Hey everybody, Tripl-L here with a Let's Complain About Writing video. Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day. As you can see the topic, writing won't make you rich. Every now and again, this topic pops up on the self-publishing subreddit, and it's really unfortunate because, they always start off by saying it's a PSA, and then you go into this whole thing and they're just really feeling bad about themselves, and they're deciding they want to make sure everyone understands that you can't make it. Mind you, this happens every week, I feel, and I have my thoughts on this. I don't really like this kind of perspective. I personally feel you should go into writing thinking you're gonna make money, because that mentality, or like thinking you're gonna try to make money, that mentality does more for you than thinking you won't be rich, even though technically it's correct, especially in the first couple of years. Before we get into reading this, just to understand who I am, I'm the type of person that tries to write 12 books in a year, and I end up writing 6. Writing is my main job. I have a second job to just keep me good on the months where a book does not do very well. I have my strategies. I have particular ideas about how one should view writing. That is, I don't view writing as an artist or an author. I tell myself I'm a book salesman. I think of it as a salesman. I don't think about my writing as art. I think about it as a product. It doesn't matter if it's actually a product or if it's actually art. It's the mentality. Thinking of it like a product just puts me in a better position to better serve it as a product. I know some people don't like thinking of their artistic endeavors like that, but those people probably are also the ones who the vast majority are complaining that they aren't selling anything. So let's go into this very quickly. Let's read this and then I'll give more of my opinion here. This is just a little PSA because I think people get unrealistic expectations of writing and publishing because of how it's represented in the media. I would say very quickly, I don't think so. I think everyone is pretty honest about this being a shit job. I think we make fun of people who go to Starbucks to try and write anything. I think media makes fun of aspiring writers. I don't see this whole thing of I don't see this whole thing about you're going to be amazing. I know we have the big stars like Brandon Sanderson and J.K. Rowling who made a lot of money, but those guys are unicorns in the industry. They will admit that they are unicorns in the industry. Every publisher is out there looking for the unicorns. Anyway, I think this person insulates themselves specifically in a writing bubble. Even if you're an amazing writer, the odds are it won't make you rich. You need to be an amazing marketer too. You probably also need a big back catalog and some luck. Okay, so not really. Once you get going, you don't really need luck. Once you find your genre, you don't need luck, but you might need that luck at the beginning. This part here, you have to be an amazing marketer. For self-publishing, you do. You probably also need a big back catalog and some luck. Okay, so what's really interesting here is that there's this idea that you are going to become rich off of your first book. That's why when you say you probably also need a big back catalog, you build up to that. Your first book probably isn't going to make a lot of money, but by the time you have 30 books, I mean, there's an entire strategy that's based around releasing 20 books and making $50,000 a year from the 20 books. That's a perfectly valid strategy, and if you go in the right groups, you're going to see that people are employing that strategy. Okay, I was talking to an author on TikTok the other day who has written these gorgeous, brilliant romances. She has a decent sized following and 5 books out. They all have 100+ reviews, some 200+, so she's likely sold a few thousand books. Okay, so actually, I see a lot of red flags here. Having 100 reviews is nothing. Having 200 reviews is nothing. She's likely sold a few thousand books. Yeah, probably. But those kind of reviews, that's not a decent sized following. That I will be honest about that. That's not. You kind of want to have over 500 reviews to actually have a solid book. When I'm sitting down and releasing my books, and if I release 6 in a year, I'm kind of hoping that 2 of them will be Amazon bestsellers. And for me, a bestseller is in the top 2,000 of Amazon for the first month. If I can get 2 of my books into that category for the year, it'll be a good year for me. And then my other 4 books, they could be mid-tier. Ideally, none of them are low tier, but there are years where one of them is low tier. But yeah, just to give you the thing here, is because these guys don't have any sense of reference. Most of the time, these people don't have a sense of reference because they're kind of just stuck looking at people they think are amazing relative to them. But this is nothing. 100 reviews, 200 reviews, no. There's a few people that actually have more money in comparison to the reviews they've got, but those are very specific situations. But usually 100 and 200 reviews isn't enough. Okay, I messaged her after reading through them all to tell her how much I love them, and she says she's having to quit and regroup because she's not even close enough to making her money back. She's a very talented writer. Now there is another thing that people are going to bring up here, and there's a post below that actually will factor into this. At 200 plus reviews, you probably would make like $5,000, $6,000. I'm thinking off of two books that I'm connected to that are in that bracket, and it would be 5,000, 6,000. That's not a very safe bracket. And let's see, 5 books out. That's not very good. Are you like really, again, self-publishing? If you want to make money self-publishing, you gotta be releasing, I'm gonna say, more than 5 books a year. You gotta be like constantly putting these things out, especially if you don't got a publisher to back you up. You gotta be doing that kind of stuff. The people that approach writing like a career and are putting out products and they know what they're doing, they could probably be releasing mid-tier books, but those mid-tier books, 20 of them is going to be a lot of money by the end of the year. She's a very talented writer. That doesn't matter. I don't think she's a talented writer. Having 200 plus in reviews, I don't think you're a talented writer. Maybe, okay, maybe that's a little bit mean. That might be a little bit mean. Probably not a talented marketer. That's probably more what it is. But also this might be incredibly biased. I'm not trying to discourage people, says the person. I'm trying to set expectations. For most of us, writing will probably be a hobby that brings in little money or even loses us some. Yeah, probably for 90% of people. That matches with the statistics on Amazon. Of course, there are exceptions, but don't bank on being the exception. You don't have to bank on being the exception. You just have to be effective. I love writing. I love what goes into self-publishing. It's hard work, and I do it all myself, but it's fun hard work because I do it all myself and have only spent money on ads from time to time. I have made a profit. I spend like, just to give the reference here, I spend between $7,000 to $10,000 on ads a year, maybe a little bit more. I'd have to look. I'd have to look for sure. US. I do think it's unfortunate that publishing is a pay-to-play game. You do have to put some money up to get better priority on Amazon, for instance. But we're talking a few £100s over a few months, not thousands, and certainly not enough to make a living on. It makes me happy that people are reading my books, and I think that has to be enough for most of us. No. See, like this is where the difference between an artist and a book salesman starts to happen. I don't think that has to be enough for most of you. No, if you're a startup, like this is pretty much like self-publishing, and if you're trying to make it into a business, it pretty much is a startup. If you're a startup, you have to continue trying to expand. You have to continue trying to make sure you don't go under. You have to continue trying to grow responsibly. No, there is no such thing as this is enough. I think legitimately, to some degree, it depends. If you're the kind of person who tends to be more depressive, maybe you shouldn't be thinking like this, but I do believe that you should be aiming to become rich, because at least if you fall short of becoming rich, maybe that drive will have gotten you to $500,000 a year, right? So for that thing, as long as you don't let your failure bring you down, I do feel you should be aiming to, you should have goals, or at least like even maybe like a ladder system for your goals, you know? Like I want people to believe in themselves. That's fundamentally what I'm about, and that's why I don't like these kind of things, because it's just losers making more losers. I just wanted to clarify that I'm not trying to tell anyone not to publish. It's very rewarding for me and I love it. I'm not even saying you won't make it big. It's just unlikely, and I don't think anyone should put money into writing that they can't afford to lose. That's good advice. Or aim to make it their sole source of income right away. Again, very good advice. And I think the big problem here is I think this person wants to be rich off of the first 2 or 3 books. I think that's the problem. Because even here, when they said you need a big back catalog, that's part of the job. That's how it goes. Books have a very long lifespan. You need a back catalog for real, because it's exposure. Yeah, that said, a few people in the comments have shared how they have made decent money writing. So in this case, in cases it's helpful someone write to market, study what's popular trending and write to that, be willing to change genre as trends change, write in lucrative genres like erotica or lit RPG. I write in both of those genres. For erotica, like I think it actually does require a bit more research, because the few things that I've been connected to, like editing and putting things out there, not the best compared to the lit RPG adjacent stuff. But I think that's just because I don't understand the genre well enough. Maybe I should take time to read Reverse Harem for Women and write this whole thing about alpha men and like one girl surrounded by them, you know? I should take my time to learn how to do that, but I'm fine with what I got. Build up a large backlog of books, especially series. This is my plan. Yes, that is the thing. The hardest thing when it comes to writing is that when you're putting down the foundations, you got to put down some really good bricks, and really good bricks in this case are popular genre books. And then from there, that's where you really start scaling up. Mind you, there's a 1 in 100,000 people who are just geniuses, and they can make a lot of money off of their first book. It happens. It happens. Sometimes it really does happen. But if you're like me, who needs to fail a couple of times before you get like any kind of good idea, that's kind of how it goes. So very quickly breaking these down, right to market. Some people don't like this because it feels like they're selling out. But no, when you write to market, you're really just writing what people want to read. Are there 100 people looking for romance? Cool. I will write for those 100 people. 100 people buying your book at $3. That's pretty good. That's $300. And then it just scales up from there. Write in lucrative genres. That kind of goes to the writing to market part, because it's the lucrative genres are the genres that people are reading. So, it kind of goes into that. And we already covered backlog. Okay, how much time I got? So overall, with the first thing here, like writing, I think can make you pretty rich. And now we're talking about like, the bias here. But knowing like the Facebook group, 20 books to 50K, I've seen people posting their earnings, and a lot of those people can post $1 million in a year. Mind you, when you do the costs like for their advertising and their editing, then maybe you like bring down that number, but still earning $1 million off of your books. Mind you, they're also incredibly hard workers. These guys put out a lot of material, and they know how to do it. They know which audiences are underserved. But it can make you rich if you put in the time. If you go and you look at the guys on Royal Road, if you look at the guys that does like He Who Fights with Monsters, like come on, when someone's making $70,000 a month, bro. I don't know about you. I grew up with low financial goals and financial realities. $70,000 a month is pretty cool. I think if you're making $70,000 a month, I'd call that kind of rich. That's a lot of money. But you can do it. You can do it. And even going off of that, even if you're making $13,000 a month, the reality is a lot of really good Royal Road authors are able to do that. Not even counting how much they make from their actual sales. I'm counting just their Patreons. So it 100% is a good place. But one thing I've always seen is that people don't like being told that they have to take it like a business. They don't like being told that. Now, there were a few cool anecdotes that really just demonstrates the various degrees of difficulty and also the illusions of success that can occur in publishing. And I always have questions about what exactly is going on here. And there's also this idea in this situation where you can only be a writer when you have like a partner who is the breadwinner of the family, so they're pretty much funding your writing career. That is very strange to me. It's strange to me because I don't know anyone that's like that. I'm sure they do, but I don't. For me, I can't say I'm a breadwinner because I'm not in that situation. But for me, my books, they allow me to support my grandparents a little bit. It's kind of hard with like currency conversion, but they allow me to support my grandparents, and I'm incredibly grateful for that opportunity, right? So fundamentally, I'm not in this like reality that the people on Reddit are. But let's read this. I know a traditionally published writer who has won awards, has an agent, writes books and mainstream media, radio dramas and screenplays, gets invited to TV and radio interviews, gets featured at book festivals, and by all appearances has a successful writing career. She tells me she barely earns the equivalent of a full-time minimum wage job, and her husband's career is the only reason she can afford to keep going as a full-time writer. Writing is like many hobbies or artistic endeavors, a tiny fraction earn a living from it. Now, this is going to be true, fundamentally. It's because a lot of people just don't know how to write and are trying to write. That's the problem. While most just enjoy spending time creating with a sprinkle of financial rewards or accolades or sweeten the process, but most spend more time and money and get almost nothing in return for it. It seems the best mindset for writing is to do it because you love doing it. Make a bit of effort to get your writing into the hands of readers and appreciate any feedback you get, but don't expect much of a return for it. Yeah, again, I just can't live with this whole don't expect to get much of a return for it. Other than the day-to-day enjoyment of creating stories to share, if you're one of the fortunate few to earn decent money from it, enjoy being one of the lucky lottery winners. the odds of making money on writing are not the same as the odds of winning the lottery. That's just a lie. But again, you gotta feel for it. I don't want to set people on the wrong path here, though. Like, the way to go about this is to have a positive mindset and to be willing to compromise on your idea of what you want to do and find joy in another aspect of it. One thing I will say here is I've been looking at this. So traditionally published, already I'm wondering about what are the royalty rates. Has an agent, okay. Now I'm wondering about like the fees that the agent gets paid. Writes books and mainstream media, radio dramas. I'm really interested about this because this seems right here. Forget the books, the dramas and the screenplays. That feels like something that should be getting a lot of money. Gets invited to TV and radio interviews. One thing that does happen is that some people produce like artsy books, but the thing is, artsy books are lame to the normal person. You get all this cred, and people are like, "Yeah, man, this really makes me think." But it's like, yeah, the people that go, "This makes me think," aren't the vast majority of the actual reading audience. So you have the situation where sometimes people do get these cool accolades, but the stories suck on a mass market level. So that's why you can't really trust awards. What's really interesting, and this is an anecdote from Japan, because I follow the Japanese contests there. You know, there's contests. People get their books selected. They go up on Amazon. When you go and you look at the metrics of the books on Amazon, you have reviews of people saying, "Oh, these are the books that got selected by this particular contest," as almost as if there's a stigma on it. And then they just aren't that impressive when it comes to selling. Like, they just aren't impressive when it comes to sale numbers. So there is a distinction between these really fancy schmancy books and these books that are built and designed to be sold. It's just something worth considering. There's different audiences for different things. The reality is, I feel like with a few genres in writing, there's a few genres where people like agents will look down on it. But the reality is those genres produce more money. And then, you know, it opens up a conversation about like, this is lowbrow entertainment, but it's like, bro, here we have another one. I work for a successful independent author who makes a great living. She didn't get into writing to make money. It took her about 12 books to be able to quit her day job. She hustled and still does like crazy with marketing. Good writer. You can't be bad and expect success, though it happens sometimes. Agreed. She'll be the first to say there's luck involved, though I believe it's more about creating your own good fortune. I agree with that. She is very good at networking within the industry, which brings her opportunities. I don't know about, I have no experience with that. She loves doing it, and that's probably the most important. You can't make a career without willing to sacrifice a lot of time for something you love. I enjoy what I do too, but I enjoy succeeding. I enjoy telling a story and succeeding. That's my personal thing. I like also learning how to game the system. And I also like learning how to design something that will give me the best metrics. I'm more of a numbers guy, so I do like that kind of stuff more. And this is the final big comment that we'll read from SmartWriter200, because this will be a pretty good reflection of what I believe. Okay, so while they agree with the overall sentiment that getting rich from writing is not likely, making money from words is not quite as doom and gloom as you're presenting here. There is no genius IQ required. That's true. Nor do you need to be a marketing guru. That's true. Honestly, just like look at a guide on how to market on Amazon and you'll be fine. You speak some truths, but there are some common misconceptions here as well. Every writer is different. What works for me may not work for you. First, I'll say writing has not made me rich, but it has made me enough money to put my kids through college and will likely help me with an early retirement. I've been self-publishing since 2013. Took a year between switching genres. Never pursued traditional publishing, nor do I have any plans to do so. Since 2013, when I released my first big fantasy novel, I sold over 48,000 books and over 40 million pages read on Amazon. So I very quickly went to check to see how impressive that 40 million is since 2013. So in this year, I got 6 million page reads. So that gives you like an idea. Like 6 million page reads times 0.004 would give you the idea of how much money that generates. So you could do the same thing for the what was it again? You can do the same thing for that 40 million. Just gotta multiply by 0.004. Never hired an editor, nor have I spent any money on marketing. I have no author website. I don't do anything on social media, and I don't mess with mailing lists. And I've had success across 2 wildly different genres. Okay, so the editor, that's actually where I think the big problem is for most people, and they're going to touch on it in a little bit here. But editors are expensive, especially if you write fantasy. Like for my first 2 books, I had an editor. My first book cost like $2,500, let's say. I think that's what it was. And you know what? At the end of the day, I had to go back and edit it anyway. having to pay for an editor will definitely it will eat out of your profits fundamentally. And a lot of times your book might not even get past how much that editor is going to cost. I honestly think you should just pick up Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid and just learn how to edit yourself. And this is where it becomes a much more interesting conversation, because people who love what they're doing are overly attached to it. People who can see it as a product have a better opportunity to see the flaws in their product and be able to kill their darlings, as Stephen King would say. That's why, for me, I would definitely advocate for people seeing their books as products first. You can see it as a work of art after you've put it out and it sold 1,000 copies on the first day. Anyway, with self-publishing, I think you gotta learn to do everything so that you can minimize the cost, so that you can continue operating. My fantasy books earned $31,000 between 2013 and 2017. This is the Kindle page reads right here. But since page reads became a thing, I've still managed almost 1 million page reads with the 5 fantasy books I've written. Okay, so 31,000, 5 books, 4 years. That's not that great, but it's better than nothing. My 5th fantasy novel was a flop. I know why it flopped, but it had nothing to do with marketing or editing. I stopped trusting my intuition, and when I wrote my 5th fantasy book, I tried to outline and structure it in a way that followed the rules. By follow the rules, I mean that I had proper 3-act structure. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Starting 2019, switched to erotica. Writing erotica is no easier or harder than any other genre, but I made the switch because the story format works in that space. I don't have to devote a year of my life to writing a doorstop fantasy novel, only to find out it sucked. This is another thing. I can write books of 120,000 to 150,000 words. I can do 6 of those books in a year. It's pretty rough, but it's possible, but you'll burn out probably unless you have the mind for it. The reason I'm bringing this up is just because you shouldn't be spending a year writing a book if you're trying to do self-publishing. When I started erotica, I could write a story in a couple of days, slap a cover on it, and publish it after running it through Pro Writing Aid and Word Editor. I started with shorts, but lately my work has naturally transitioned into novel-length erotica, so that's about 40,000 words. This came organically as I learned. Don't try to write long if you haven't learned to write short. Yes, this is actually very good advice. At least this was true for me. I know successful authors got skipped the step, but most are better for writing short first. Stephen King started by writing short stories. I will quickly say I had a lot of trouble writing short. I can write short once I already have an established universe, but I actually write very long. And I think I'm going to keep writing long. My particular niche, totally okay with it. For fantasy novels, paid a cover artist, then I learned to make my own covers. I spent $35 on deposit photos. That's pretty cool. I keep paying my artists. I like my artists. The most important element in making money is patience, the ability to self-reflect, and a willingness to learn. Yep, fully agree. This includes being open and critical of your own work. Good stories sell. A good story comes from learning how to write emotion into scenes and to give the readers a reason to turn the page so they can find out what happens next. So I usually call this accessibility. A good story is accessible. A good story makes people want to keep reading it more. Building curiosity into your work and forget about the structure. Just write a scene and think about what happens next. After you figure out what happens, okay, that's just like a bunch of fluff. Other than patience, self-reflection, and willingness to learn, your books should have a title that speaks to the genre and the audience you're targeting, a good blurb, and genre-specific title that pulls in readers and delivers wanted promises. So this is like the basics of writing. You want to have a good cover, a good title, and a good blurb. That's just the basics of self-publishing. Everyone's gonna, whenever you ask for advice on your book, people are usually gonna default to that bit of advice. Okay, and here's one. Self-edit everything using Pro Writing Aid. Don't pay for a professional editor. My books average 4.6 stars with 1,000 reviews across many titles. That's pretty much the same thing for me. This person, I fully agree with them. When you understand the basic rules of grammar, as they're about to say, you can get away with a lot. You just need to have a base level of readability, and once you pass that base level, you're good to go. My books are not perfect, and I have a lot of user submissions on typos, etc. I fix these and upload the fixes. These aren't hurting my ratings or sales. I don't read my reviews, but I do see my average rating. At the end of the day, readers want a story that delivers an emotional punch. They'll forgive a few typos so long as it's not ridiculous. Yep. Years ago, I purchased a lifetime subscription, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Pro Writing Aid is a very good tool. It is technically better than Grammarly. I'm more used to Grammarly, so I just keep using Grammarly. Okay, so this person doesn't use beta readers. This is also another expense. I got rid of them. If you're on Royal Road, your commenters will be your beta readers. Let's see, build a backlog. Again, backlogs are important. They are king, queen, and the entire court. This is how you make money. Agreed. You gotta be writing for the long game. You can't just go in thinking you're going to have all the money off of one book. Always be writing in a series. After you think your sales have dwindled, box them up and release them all together at a higher price so people will pay a little more for longer works. Okay, that's a strategy. It's 5. Don't spend a bunch of time rewriting the same book X number of times. Yeah, so this goes back to the whole idea of you need to be putting out a lot of books. You can't have that attachment to your book. Make sure you put it out. You really want to hit high volume here. Spend no money on marketing. I have about 4,000 followers on Amazon who are notified when I do a new release. If I didn't do anything, I don't ask for reviews at the end of my book. The only thing I do is link to some other of my works. Actually, you know what? This person's a lot like me. I try not to ask for reviews at the end of my books either. For comparison, I have about 3,000 followers on Amazon. That's pretty alright. It'd be nice if all 3,000 bought a book whenever I released it, but they're not there for all of my books. Anyway, they do all their own cover. They use AI, whatever. When you write your blurb, don't try to touch on every character. Yep, just have a simple one. Don't do arcs or pay anybody for reviews. I don't think you need to do that either. I don't bother with print copies, just release digital copies. So I do print copies. I can just do it through Amazon. It's very easy to do, and it does kind of increase the amount of sales you make. So it's nice. It's nice to have a physical book for people that like it. But otherwise, that person's advice was actually very good, and it does line up with a lot of things, I believe. Fundamentally, when we come back to the thing, writing won't make you rich. It won't make you rich if you're bad at it. If you're good at it, and you're willing to learn, and you're willing to study, and you're willing to see what worked elsewhere, and you're willing to treat it like a job, and you're able to output a lot of books, or a lot of writing, in the case of if you're on Royal Road, you can make a good living. This is the era of people making a lot of money on the internet. And, you know, on YouTube, people are making a lot of money. There's nothing stopping people from being able to write a good story and making a lot of money. Again, though, one big thing that I do see that people struggle with a lot is that they are very fixated on writing what they want to write. And a lot of people don't fully understand that they are providing a product. People are not going to read something just because you wrote it. They're going to read something because it's what they want to read. And if there was ever a big weakness that people have, is that they don't understand that they are not the most important person in the room. In this case, it really is your mythical reader that is the most important thing. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if there is any spot that you would like me to clarify. I hope this video gets 100 views at least. But yeah, thank you. Till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.